My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Joe. Hello. Yes, I lost my theme music there. I wasn't sure when it ended. There are always a few wonderful comments left over from the Good Morning Portugal show as we go into the Iberian FM phone-in. If you want to get your heads around the idea of the topic today, what we're talking about, given the controversy around the Dalai Lama just recently, I won't go into too much of that detail with that. I think you know what I'm referring to, and I don't want to single him out particularly as the focus of the discussion. It's a more general one, which is where are spiritual leaders leading us? And I see it does mention the Dalai Lama again, but that's what prompted me to have this conversation this morning. Where are spiritual leaders leading us? Dalai Lama accused of inaction over sex abuse in the Algarve. I may well come back to that specific story so you know what I'm talking about. And you can see that it is not entirely out of context, although it did seem somewhat tenuous to me to link the Dalai Lama with a local matter that's happening in the Algarve. But we'll see if that's warranted or not in a moment. Let me change the banners so that you've got the right number to call. 913-590-303 is the number to call if you want to talk about this. Are you somebody who has enjoyed the counsel of spiritual teachers and spiritual leaders? Has something changed now, though? Are we not looking upwards? Are we having more of a sideways conversations with people? Should we have people as peers and as colleagues on the spiritual journey rather than glamorous stars, I suppose? Not unlike Hollywood stars or celebrities that we look up to, and take their words at face value, put them into practice, and not worry too much about their personal morals and values, as sometimes seems to be the case. As often the great gurus, and I'm thinking of people like Osho. When I call them great gurus, I think it's fair to say they have given people great insight, inspiration, and teaching. I don't mean great in this context, though. I mean great as in the ones we've heard about, the infamous and famous gurus, with their Rolls Royces, their abuse, possibly allegedly, of followers, power going to their heads. Are we living in a time? Well, I better turn the phone on, aren't we, if we're going to have some calls here? 913-590-303, the number to call. And we're ready to take your calls on this, on what I think is an important topic. And it's not just, as you might immediately think, new agey or more recent gurus and spiritual teachings, is it? I mean, this of course could refer to any kind of spiritual leadership, spiritual teaching. Catholic Church, of course, no stranger to controversy and abuse. So are we moving into a time where we are going to stop seeing people It's quite an interesting extension, isn't it, of the earlier conversations we were having about royalty. Royalty, monarchy, that's changing. I think, there's a struggle to get people interested in King Charles's coronation. When we talked about politicians and the day before last about how to make politicians accountable, cynicism and regard of politicians is so low, and expectations are so low about what they might do for society. Do we bring spiritual teachers and spiritual leaders into that as well? Are they not what they used to be? Have we changed? Have things changed? Has society changed so that we don't have the same dynamic going on? We don't just have these people in their position, the kings, the politicians, and the spiritual leaders who are just saying, it's okay, we've got this. We'll take care of this. We're the grown-ups, you're the kids. Just do as we say and everything will be fine. Because as we're discovering in most recent times, things aren't just fine if we let them just get on with it and they're not accountable, which they don't appear to be. Okay, thank you, Antonio F. Remember to hit the like button. More importantly at the moment, remember to call in and let me keep an eye on WhatsApp. So if you're on your Wi-Fi, if you're using your WhatsApp, don't worry about making an expensive phone call. If you've got a frothy Dutch husband who has a view on this, get them to call in on 913-590-303. We've got our first call coming in, and I think this is somebody who might be in Canada. Hello, who's this on the line?
Hey, Carl, it's Suze.
Hi, Suze. Good
It's
to hear
Suze
from you.
calling from her sick bed.
Oh, and an extra applause for you, and love and respect and encouragement, given that you're not feeling so well. Have you been moved to call because of the subject matter, or was it something left over from the Good Morning Portugal show?
Oh, subject matter.
Oh, go on. Spiritual leaders. Then.
I want to talk about
go on.
spirituality and meditation, and I think actually for me it's personal growth.
Yeah.
And we all have different ways of approaching it, and some things work for others and don't work for other people. There may be hesitance, reluctance, the chance to turn back. And I've sent you the poem called Commitment. And the last line of it was a quote by Goethe that said, God, I can't remember what it is. This is what happens when a sick person calls in. Moment one commits.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry.
The moment one commits oneself, then providence moves too.
Yeah.
And I've been counting on that since 86, 87 when I first learned it.
Yeah.
That, I just think anything is possible as long as you believe in it. And then I followed Wayne Dyer for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of hooked into his power of intention, which I still rely on. And even though I didn't like his voice for meditation, I do meditate to guided meditation as opposed to just going off in my own thoughts. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that to you as my way of looking at things.
Well, I like that a great deal. And the way that I'm framing and talking about this doesn't mean that I think spiritual teachers, spiritual teachings are redundant in any way. Clearly, we are complex beings as human beings, aren't we? And we have needs on every level, mind, body, and spirit. What I was bringing into question really was the personalities involved with spirituality, spiritual teaching, spiritual leaders. So what I'm getting from you, and what I will do, if I may, is share that quote so that you mentioned it. It's Wolfgang von Goethe, isn't it, who said that? Until one is committed, there is always hesitancy. So a nice little bit of spiritual teaching here in the middle of the Iberian FM phone-in this morning. Until one is committed, there is always hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. And you know this in your life from what you've said. I've actually seen you do this. I've done it myself. We know the truth of this, don't we? It has a ring of truth to it. And this sort of material is really powerful and useful for human beings. Can I glean from what you're saying that the what people are saying is more important than the people themselves when it comes to being a spiritual teacher or leader?
Well, I just think there's a bunch of sham, scam. We've seen the news. There's been people like Jim Jones and David Koresh who had followers who were vulnerable and gullible and needed a leadership that they just weren't really prepared to perhaps find something healthier and better for them so they could still be alive. But, and then some people belong to religious groups that they get what they feel they need from. And then, of course, I've got my judgments about that, too.
Go on.
Because there's some limitations in some religious beliefs. There's some limitations. This is not allowed.
Okay.
Like, for example, when I had cancer, I went back to the Lutheran church where I was raised. I had been away for many years, but I just was desperate and fearful. And so I went to the church, and the minister was at most of the sermon talking about what sinners we were and that Jesus would forgive us. And I thought, this isn't helping. Why are you telling me that I'm a sinner, which, maybe I am, but I'm here for the love of God, not to be threatened by God. So
Yes.
Anyway, that's just my take on that angle.
No, I appreciate that and resonate with it. I totally get it, and I do like your how charitable you are about it as well. Because this is a particular shtick or approach, isn't it? Of course, that we're sinners, miserable sinners, and you very thoughtfully said, well, maybe we are, and I can see that as well. But the other key phrase that you used is "this is not helping," and is that the kind of gold standard we might look for? Is to ask that question earnestly. What is being put to me here by a spiritual teacher, by a spiritual leader? Is this actually helping?
I just realized my housemate is sleeping in the room above me, and I've been talking very loud. So I'm going to lower my voice, and if that's a problem, let me know.
No, we can still hear you. I mean, probably what they heard while they were sleeping is we're miserable sinners. It might be bringing all sorts of flashbacks for them as they try and sleep up there. Go on.
No, I just think, everyone can find their own answers in their own way, as long as it truly is feeding them in a healthy, supportive, loving way that propels them to, achieving what they want in life. And, I'm, since I was sick, I've had a lot of stumbling blocks, and I'm in one right now. Yeah. But you just don't get. You know what? I'll tell you a little story. Do you have time for it?
Yeah, of course. This is what this is about.
2007. It was my dream initially to move to France. So just after I finished chemo in 2007, I scooted off to the south of France. And, it had been a year, and, there had been a lot of loss. I had lost my breast. I had chemo. I had to give up my career. I had to give up a dog. I had to give up a car. I had to sell a house at a loss. It was just boom, boom, boom. Then my mother was diagnosed. No, she wasn't even diagnosed. She was just fading away, and they didn't have a diagnosis for her. So anyway, I finished chemo, scooted off to the south of France, wanted to buy a house. And I was with a friend, so we were having a good time. And I dropped her off to meet her husband. And then I took this little cute mountain road back to the chambre d'hôte I was staying at between Avignon and Aix-en-Provence. It was a mountain road, hadn't been up it before. And all of a sudden, my personal grief for all this loss just hit me. Yeah. And tears were streaming, and I was wailing, and I couldn't see out of my little rental car. And I thought, this is it. I'm going to die on this road. I can't see anywhere to pull over. And anyway, I made it. And I said to myself, just keep going. Yeah. So a few years passed, and I went back, and I thought, I got to go up that mountain road again and see if there was a place to turn over. And there was. Just on that day, I couldn't see it. So I think, aside from all the other ramblings I've done, I think my motto is just keep going. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't quite clear about that. You went back. So it was in the rain and the conditions weren't
No. It was a clear, sunny day. I dropped my friend off the train. Yeah. And then I took a different route back. Yeah. And I ended up, instead of, I don't like the big highways. I want to see the country, right? So I went up this little rinky-dink mountain road. Okay. Yeah. And that's when my grief hit me, and I was crying so hard I couldn't see.
Oh, okay.
And so I couldn't see if there was anywhere to pull over. Okay. And so I said, just keep going. Yeah. And so a few years later, I went back to that exact same spot, clear-eyed, sunny day, little rental car. And at near the top, there was a place to pull over. But on that particular day, I hadn't seen it. And I thought, well, I survived. I'm still here.
Yes. Yeah. There's a few things in there, if I might ask you about them. the nature of grief, and this has been popping up from time to time. We mentioned it earlier on this morning. Mama Bear McGowan from Sharing Care Portugal was with us. We talked to Stephen Jenkinson, of course, about death and dying and how our culture treats it a couple of weeks ago. And that moment where your grief hit you, that's a thing, isn't it? Because I guess as human beings, we need to be functional and carry on. Like you say, yeah, keep going. And so there's a kind of irony there, isn't there? There is you maybe something in your mind or body said, I can't keep going. And the tears came, something triggered the tears. And that was a relief or a release of some sort of catharsis. And then, I think go on.
I was just saying, I had been with a very old friend exploring France together, and she and I did comedy together. So that's what we did. We cracked each other up. But when she left me, that's when grief said, oh, this is my turn. This is where I get to come in.
Yes.
So after she left and I was alone, I've just moved. I'm a little winded because of the COVID, but
sure.
I just moved down to the living room so as not to wake up Lee. Anyway, yeah, so I haven't got it figured out, Carl.
No, none of us
have. It's an ongoing process.
Yes, yeah, of course.
I just want to figure it out in Portugal, and I'm having trouble getting there.
Yeah.
So my examination for myself was, what obstacles are here? What do I need to do to put this behind me for once and all, and just reclaim the life I used to have?
Yes.
So that's why I dared to call in, because I may not be alone, and if I'm not, all the better.
Well, I'm glad you did, and that's what one of the things I feel really good about with our community is that we do. There are connections here. You know, there's the obvious one. You know, we talk to each other, and there's people in the chat and the comments, and people talk to each other as well, don't they? Separately, and we're in each other's lives, and we're there for each other as connections. And I really love that about what we've all created here together. So long may that continue. And I'm glad you're feeling some sense of that. On the other side of it, on the shadow or dark side of it, you say are there some challenges that we can help with at the moment?
I'll approach it to you when I feel like I've got it clear in my head.
Okay.
But it's just, I think I'm just this is an exercise in patience, is what I'm guessing it is. It's
yes.
Just, you're not ready. You can't just be that impulsive and go, well, I want to be in Portugal. Boom, here I go. It takes some organizing.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to acknowledge your level of introspection, self-awareness, and just your approach to life, Suze. It's inspirational. It's great to meet you when you were here, and it's going to be good to meet you when you come back and see you again when you come back to Portugal.
The other thing I wanted to put it in the chat in 86. The workshop that I got that commitment poem from was based out of New York City, and it was for actors initially. It was called The Mastery of Self-Expression. Ted Danson was in the original group. Sigourney Weaver took it.
Wow.
But and what it was an acting teacher saying to a bunch of actors, you're all really good actors, why aren't you working? So they said, let's just get into the studio, we're going to hunker down until we figure this out. And they ended up coming up with this workshop, which I then co-produced in Toronto. And you know, it's an intensive, really learn to tell your own truth to yourself kind of workshop.
Wonderful.
In a very safe environment. So I just, that was 86, a long time ago, but I just haven't had the nerve to ask if there's any other Mastery of Self-Expression graduates in our community.
Oh, yeah. Because
it did go international. They do it in London, they do it in Israel, Toronto, Vancouver. Of course, they got shut down during COVID because it's a very interactive, physical, as well as expressive weekend. So anyway, I had never mentioned it, and I just thought I'll bring it up. Maybe.
Well, you make another good point. If obliquely there, that here are the actors getting together to understand their art and their medium, if you like. And what they've discovered, it would seem, is that actually, ultimately, it's not so much about acting; it's about where you're at as an individual, as the actor. And this is true, I think, of people who reach mastery in all of their skills in life, whether they be actors, musicians, accountants, whatever they happen to be. It's not actually about the subject anymore, is it? To gain mastery and to see clearly and to be, functional and the best at what you do and to have the most wholesome and happy experience of life requires self-inspection, introspection, transformation. And it's not so much about the subject, as it turns out. It's more about the person seeing the activity. It comes back to you, doesn't it? It is about you in the end.
Well, it comes also to interpretation. And what were you told as a child by family, parents, teachers, friends about you that you bought into, which may not be true? Maybe you were a little bit different. Maybe you were a little bit odd.
Check.
And you were put down for it.
Yes.
Maybe as a boy you weren't masculine enough, or
you know me so well.
Maybe you had some wild ideas. and so what we teach here is, let's get to the facts of the matter and get away from the interpretation that is based on speculation, assumptions, and fears.
Oh, bless you.
Let's look at our real, true selves. And what did we sacrifice? It's like some people are very soft-spoken, and they think they're yelling. Who put that in their head when we can't even hear them?
It's so true. We've met. That's a great example. We've met those people, haven't we? And it's a great insight. Another fantastic.
I'm sorry. Can you speak up? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Me of all people. Suze, that is so great. Such good insight. One more thing, if I may, before you go. You talked about the great, again, I'm not using great in terms of excellence, but the great cult leaders that we know about, the infamous ones, the Jim Jones and Koresh, and how they exploited vulnerable people. I've always found this
you forgot to mention Donald Trump.
Oh no, we've got 7 minutes to go. We can't play the Trump card, so to speak, and expect to leave this conversation.
I'm just trying to be funny.
I know it's kind of funny.
You do have to look at some of his followers are.
But this is what I'm saying.
Their agenda is not based on fact.
Sure. Let me just bring in another thought here from Stephen. Most of the spiritual leaders you hear about, Osho, are the ones that have monetized the spirituality. A whole bunch of coaching trainings that have been taken down over the last few years. Netflix did one recently. BBC have just done a very British cult. Well, the BBC itself is a cult. What I want to talk about or put to you here, or get your view on, Suze, is this idea of vulnerable people and cults. And there's often a kind of, I don't know, I find it a bit of a condescension that we've got to look after those vulnerable people who are being exploited by, people whose agendas aren't, let's say, the most excellent in the world. And of course we do. But in that, we may not recognize, as you said before, the prejudices and the short-sightedness we might bring ourselves of not realizing that we belong to all sorts of cults without realizing it. And we are also vulnerable, aren't we? Whilst we look at others as being vulnerable and drinking the Kool-Aid, we may have those blind spots ourselves.
I was just going to say, don't drink the Kool-Aid has become a catchphrase. And it came from a really horrific event.
Yeah, of course it did.
But that's because we can recognize that there are people who seemingly are vulnerable and are drinking Kool-Aid, a different kind of Kool-Aid, not a literal Kool-Aid, in buying into some crap.
Of course. But then we have to strike a balance, don't we? That is their right to do so. And the point I'm making is that where are we doing that? If we bring our focus out of all those whatever Biden supporters, Trump supporters drinking the Democratic or the Republican Kool-Aid, that may or may not be true, and it is their right to do so, isn't it? Because we live in hopefully a free world where people are figuring stuff out by doing such things. But then,
you don't let a child drive a car.
I know, I absolutely agree, and that's why I say it's a fine balance, isn't it? But then, do we stop people? Do we, in the same way that we would protect a child from driving a car? Although there was a great video, wasn't there, of a kid driving his dad's truck, or ordering an app, exactly. Where do we draw the line of stepping in to say, well, we can't have that politician because some vulnerable people might vote for them and drink that Kool-Aid, as it were. There has to be an amount of allowance and a quest for balance, doesn't there, rather than a quest for cancellation and censorship around these things?
Like I said, I think that the determination, the hope is that people will find a healthy way to improve the quality of their lives, fulfill some dreams, be loving, be loved, take care, have the best life they can.
Yes.
And almost everyone, no matter what course they're on, that's what they're trying to do.
Isn't it just?
And it just seems some are a little more naive and gullible, and actually cause danger to others. You know, look at Germany in World War II following Hitler. I mean, he set out with good ideas initially, but he had a hidden agenda. He had propaganda, and I'm seeing propaganda. I don't watch the news very much, but I can tell through my feeds that there's propaganda out there.
Yes.
Okay. And so it's kind of the way of the world. But I'm just thinking, I don't know how to get rid of scam artists, or how to be wary of them. I just block them. If you know to.
Well, it's real, isn't it? All the things we're talking about are real. I don't mean to diminish or undervalue the importance and danger of things. I'm just looking for a different angle, I suppose, exploring the angles on these things. That's what the Iberian FM phone-in is about. That's what I think we're about as a community. Politics is the number one cult, says Mrs. M, as feel-good astrology. We're all playing this game at some level. Women stooped. I think Mr. S has a lot to say. Maybe you'll phone in to the Iberian FM phone-in at some point. For some reason, I can't post anything. I keep getting a community standards tab. Ha ha! That's karma.
Someone, you've blocked yourself.
No, I think that's Mrs. M falling foul of the Facebook cult of fact checking and so on, and she doesn't like it. She responds badly to that, and I completely can understand her anger when it erupts about those sorts of things. And as we come to the end of today's session, perhaps this is a conversation that we will continue. Another theme here: women don't own their bodies in the US anymore. That's not right, says Mr. S. So I think we have triggered some people this morning. We've not meant to do that. The intention of the Iberian FM phone-in is to talk about important things. And Suze, you've done that brilliantly this morning.
I feel a little, I'm just rambling on here in my COVID-addled brain as clearly as I can. And I can't see the show. I can't see the comments in the chat. Yeah. So it's basically there's a chat between you and me, and others are eavesdropping, and that's totally fine, you know?
Yeah. That's exactly how it can be, and is a pretty good format, I would think. And all views are welcome here. I'm going to. Are you off?
I'm going to sign off here, but I just wanted to say I think you guys are great. The whole community is wonderful. We're not going to agree on everything, but we do have a common goal, and that's a love of Portugal, and that's a good place to start.
Good on you, Suze. Thank you so much. With your COVID-addled brain, as you put it, calling you made a lot of sense to me. Not that I'm recommending COVID-addled brain, but you made a lot of sense. It's been lovely to talk to you. Keep on recovering. Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye.
There she goes. Fantastic. As easy as that. 913-590-303. But not today. Now, what we have going against us is time. You know, we live in a time-based universe. Oh, we got sent a meme about that, didn't we? That James sent in. I fully understand your theory of relativity. It's about time, says the Einstein lookalike there. And time is up for us today. It is one of the it's a self-imposed barrier. It's a man-made creation, isn't it? Time, or certainly how we've come to use it as a weapon against ourselves. And I'm going to do that now, not least because I need to go and hang out with my in-laws. But I want to say, if you've got a frothy Dutch husband, if your feelings, political ideology, if you're upset about anything that's been said today, my promise to you is that you can be heard. You can be heard, and we can keep talking. Like I said before, it's a good quality of communication to stick around to clear up the mess. That's a good sign of friendship, to want to work through something. And that is one of, as well as, if you call into the Iberian FM phone-in or make a comment in the chat, I would love it as a basic ground rule that it be respectful and that it be lawful in the first instance. and that we're open-minded and open-hearted, we can hear what people are saying and we can do our best to understand what people are saying as well, even if we don't agree with them. Here's the thing, and I think that's what Suze was mentioning there. We may not agree with each other, and does it really matter that much? But from that, what you could call disagreement or lack of agreement, we might become better educated or more open-minded or more of a resource to each other, or of more service to each other, recognizing that we do think differently. But as Suze again said, we have a common goal. On the face of it, in Good Morning Portugal, a love of Portugal. But we have a love of Portugal because of what Portugal represents, which is that same open-mindedness, open-heartedness, an easier place to be in these crazy times for humanity. Please, Mr. S, please don't feel thwarted. I can't tell you how to feel. That's not my job, not anyone's job, is it? You're feeling what you're feeling, and what I would, how I would invite you and encourage you is to anything that's left there as a source of irritation, bring it for examination and sharing, and a tool for the personal growth that Suze talked about here on the Iberian FM phone-in. I'm liking how it's going. I'm liking what we do, and I don't know who Sabrina is. I think it's very positive to know what I don't want to be. Yes, again, more useful gems of conversation that can be brought forward to future episodes of the podcast and live stream that is the Iberian FM phone-in. Make a note of that number, 913-590-303. And until tomorrow, when we talk to Ron Rogers tomorrow, about his wonderful album, the title track, Portuguese Cowboys, and that is the eponymous, is that what it's, no, it's not eponymous because it would be called the Ron Rogers album, wouldn't it? But the title track is the name of the album, and the title track, Portuguese Cowboys. We'll play that again tomorrow because that is one of my 3 favorites from the album. And I'll play 2 other tracks, and Ron will be joining us. Michael Bliss, if you're tuned in, you might like to join us and say hi as well. But we're playing 3 tracks, thanks to Ron, who's allowed us to do so, and talking to the man himself for a Feel Good Friday Iberian FM phone-in. And that, of course, after the Good Morning Portugal show tomorrow, where it's a real bonanza. Phil, Coach Turner, Raquel, and maybe Stephen White will be joining us. It's a busy one tomorrow, and we will unwind and expand. We'll unwind physically and expand our minds at the same time, hopefully, if all goes according to plan, with the Iberian FM. I can't even say the name of my own creation here, the Iberian FM phone-in. Until then, and if I don't see you on Expats Portugal's Dream Team session at 9, and before that, the license exchange and vehicle special with ACP, I will see you in the morning. Take care, and bye for now.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, Saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.